as you can tell, this right here is a pristine machine. I've taken care of it for many years. It is almost in perfect condition. Besides a little dust, dirt there, here. But yeah, can't go wrong with this thing.
How much you want for it?
I guess, maybe 500, 600 in that. You have the rig one in before?
Hey, Sergio, you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Are you okay?
Shut up.
Contract that he's supposed to know how to ride a bicycle?
I could have sworn we did. Looks like his agent didn't give him the memo.
We might have to recast this. We'll figure it out.
Alright guys, welcome back to the GarageCast. Thank you for tuning in today. We took some time off for a while, vacations and stuff. It is summertime. But in the meantime, we did get our new set set up. We got R2 back, got some sock monkeys back there, set up these lights.
It's a retarded ass sock monkey.
Oh, okay.
His
Anyways.
eyes are like all the way up here and his mouth's right.
That's on sock monkey.
It's a retarded sock monkey. I think I'm blocking it.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
It's just there to look.
We got new lights. We
Yeah, we got the lights.
watched a new movie. I guess we should go with the introductions real quick. Over there on your right, I guess. Your left.
I think I'm on the left in their view. It doesn't matter. I'm on the right side from our view. Anyways, I'm Louie. This is the GarageCast.
I'm Cameron. This is the GarageCast.
You know your boy Kels. This is the GarageCast. You feel me?
And this is Sergio. Hi.
All right.
Anyways, so this week,
I should redo that real quick. Hi, I'm Sergio.
this week, we watched The Place Beyond the Pines, which, if you haven't seen it, it's Eva Mendes, Ryan Gosling,
Bradley Cooper.
Two
Ben
teenage
Mendelsohn.
actors that I don't know the names of. Ray Liotta's in it for a little
Yeah.
while.
White people.
Yeah.
Mahershala Ali.
Mahershala.
Mahershala Ali. The guy from The Amazing Spider-Man that played Green Goblin, the kid. There's a lot of people in this movie, actually.
There is.
Anyways, well, I guess that makes sense because it spans over like two different people in the same generation and then a whole nother generation.
It's like
of kids.
3 different movies. Real quick, guys, we did record this podcast. We recorded about 5 to 10 minutes of it, but we're done. So that got cut. So we're starting over again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it got.
This might help us though.
So we
just to
might
keep
jump
everything
through
in
some
line.
topics because we kind of already talked about some of them.
We had some technical difficulties.
Louis?
The audio stopped
And
recording.
we might still be having it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We'll see if
We're still
We'll
on
have to
one, though.
find out.
Yeah,
Anyways.
that's true.
All right. Anyways, yeah, let's get into it. So I guess we'll start with Ryan Gosling now because we'll just start with his character. It makes sense. That's where the movie starts.
Yeah.
With that butterfly knife.
Yeah.
Butterfly
The
knife,
opening with the
'cause
butterfly knife is badass.
First note that Louis has here: butterfly knife opening is badass.
Yep. Pretty cool.
And it has nothing to do with the movie itself besides showing how badass the character is.
Yeah, it introduces his character in a cool. You see a guy shirtless, in great shape, by the way, might I add.
Okay. He's got tons of tattoos.
Keep it down,
Yeah,
sir.
all kinds of tattoos, and not like
This is not appropriate.
And that's
It's
Yeah,
not
sorry.
talking
This is
about the
our
body.
welcome back to our Christian podcast.
While you're here, please check out my Minecraft server.
No hex, no fricks, no double decker dicks.
What?
You haven't seen that video?
You haven't seen that?
No, I know that. I remember the first whatever.
okay.
Anyways, that's not the point. The butterfly knife opening is really cool. It gets you introduced to his character and what he's like, or at least what he tries to portray.
I felt like when I saw that, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, is he about to
Yeah.
go fight somebody?
We thought he was in a
Yeah.
gang or something.
Yeah, I thought he was in a gang.
Yeah.
Just by the way, his tattoos were, and it was just it was kind of all over. In the end, when
He even had the
his
tear. Or it was a
tattoos-
dagger, right?
It was a
Down his
dagger.
eye.
Yeah.
With the teardrop.
Mhm.
You know what that means.
Yeah. Which, by the way, this is Cameron and Markel's first time seeing this movie. Me and
Oh,
Sophie
yeah.
have
Yeah, I
watched
watched it a
before.
long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, when I say a long time ago, when it like first came out.
Which is like 2013.
And we're only like, see, when we say a long time ago, we're only 20 years old. Like old people.
When I say a long time, I meant like a long time. Like 6 years, 7
We
years.
barely
ago. Hard to
experienced
remember.
life.
Anyway, so yeah, Ryan Gosling's character is cool. He's badass, but is he really?
Well, when he
That's
first,
the question.
When he, yeah.
that's our first impression of him. But when we see him hold his child in his arms for the first time, that kind of facade he has immediately goes away, and he becomes a dad. He becomes
Yeah.
a guy that, while badass on the surface, is very much an emotional guy on the inside.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. One thing I noticed too, this movie reminds me a lot of Drive. Not only because
Because jacket.
not
And
only
Ryan Gosling's in it.
well, yeah, I was gonna say
Gotta put that in there.
not only because Ryan Gosling is in it, and not only because Ryan Gosling is playing a fairly similar character.
We should stop watching Ryan Gosling movies.
He picks
We gotta
good
watch
movies.
The Notebook now.
It's not even necessarily that Ryan Gosling is an amazing actor. He just picks really good roles.
does.
Yeah. Not that he's a bad actor. I like him, but
We
know,
need to watch
We
him.
forgot to, we
What?
forgot to do
That's fine.
that movie.
Anyways, so
Just pull up a random number generator.
that works.
From
So
1 to 118.
I got you.
anyways, one thing I noticed when he goes to hold his baby for the first time is the grandma, I assume, asks. Yeah, it's Eva Mendez's mom. Romina, that's his name. Romina's mom. He when she's like, "Do you want to hold him?" He's like, he like has a cigarette or something, and he like throws it and puts it out, and then like rubs his hands off on his pants and stuff, and like gets all like as clean as he can get because he's not a very like well kept human being. and then he holds the baby for the first time, and then like you said, the facade kind of just goes away, and he's a big baby.
You can see that as well. We were talking about it before our shit got cut, but the scene where he's with Romina in the
Do we
first
want to
place.
check it real quick and make sure it's...
I'm checking it in the camera.
Oh, it's still going?
Yeah, that's good.
The
The diner scene,
Wait.
right?
Yeah, the diner scene with Romina. Thank you.
Oh, hang on.
Where she's talking down. What?
Go ahead.
Where she's talking down to him, and he's like, "Don't talk down to me like that."
Yeah, and
she
he's
looks
like on the
he's about
verge
to
of
cry.
tears. Yeah. No, he's what I'm gathering from his character, and this is why his character
You
reminds
okay,
me a
Cameron?
lot of
Yeah.
Drive. Which have you seen Drive, Marco?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Another phenomenal.
That's
movie.
that one's
It's a pretty
good.
good movie.
You talking about music? Markel was complimenting the score the entire time.
Music always hits me in the movies hella deep. I'll be like, all right, whatever this music is taking me, wherever it's taking me, I'm going.
Speaking of, what was like the one track that you remember that really stood out to you from like what scene?
It was the one, I'm trying to think. The
Was it-
one that comes to mind first is when Bradley Cooper's character, Avery Cross, picked up, when him and the police, his force,
Ray
his
Liotta.
team, Ray Liotta, they were off duty, and they came into Romina's house and like took the money that, what's his name?
Left behind.
Yeah, took the money that Luke left behind for Jason. And it was like, yeah, when he picked the baby up, it like was such a like, it was creepy because like those cops were doing some dirty acts, but
They're supposed to be the people that are upstanding, but they're
Mhm.
doing some suspicious shit.
yeah, the
But
entire
the
time.
music didn't really suggest that, though. It was kind of like a very calm and like it was, I would say it was a
I think it was
beautiful moment.
unsettling the way the song.
Yeah.
Well, it was beautiful when he held the
Yeah.
kid up, but for himself,
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like really disconcerting.
Yeah, I
because
was thinking of from his perspective because it's like you
Yeah.
just like,
killed this boy's
You killed
dad.
his-
Yeah.
But the music didn't suggest that, though. Like
That's
how,
the
how
whole-
the music was played.
It was the human connection between.
Yeah,
There's a
between
lot
him
of
and the kid.
a
Yeah.
lot of juxtapositions in this movie. Like
Oh, for sure.
there was I remember you mentioned it because I thought it and I was about to write it down, and then you mentioned it out loud, and I was like, okay, so that's not something I'm just kidding. Where you're talking about it's a scene where he's feeding his kid, Ryan Gosling's character is feeding his kid ice cream for the first time, and they have it's that like really touching moment, and then it just hard cuts to a computer slamming on the floor, and
Yeah.
he's like on the desk with the gun, and he's robbing another bank.
His voice cracking. 'cause he's
Yeah.
yelling so hard.
Yeah,
That was the funniest
every
part.
robbery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did that purposefully just to like differentiate
I think he
his
did.
character. You know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
like
that's
to
true.
show that he wasn't like this tough dude. He was like, I'm desperate. Give me the fucking
Yeah, he does
money.
kind of seem.
Yeah.
He does have like that desperate tinge to his voice.
Mhm.
Kind of
Yeah.
like a wild animal.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really well
Yeah.
done. Ryan
Yeah.
Gosling, man.
Yeah.
Love you, bro. Check out this podcast, please.
Yeah, I'm watching. But if you are, thanks.
Ryan Gosling is our only fan. We should get a t-shirt with his face on it. Yeah, he made like 20 different accounts and subscribed to us.
We've watched like 3 of your movies.
I love you guys too. He's sitting alone in a dark room with our fucking wallpaper on his fucking computer.
But yeah, no, his so again with his character reminding me a lot of Drive is something that we talked about a lot with his character in Drive was that he hated himself, you know, like he didn't have a very good view of himself in his own mind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's that
once he
whole
met the
aspect.
kid.
Yeah, but he wanted to change that about himself. He wanted to be something better.
But there was things that kept happening around him that kept reinforcing that.
Right.
Like, I know we're talking about. I'm sorry, Markel, but like, there's the shit that kept happening that made him feel like I'm a bad guy.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do to change that. I'm a bad guy,
Yeah.
no matter how hard I try.
So, but
And
then
that's for Drive.
That's
that's in Drive. So then at the end of that movie, he
spoilers.
ends on a good note. We'll say
Okay, cool.
that.
And then in
He ends
Place
on a
Beyond
good
the
note.
Pines.
But in Place Beyond the Pines, he gets fucking murked in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, bro, it had me feeling sad. I was
Yeah.
like, damn, G, how we going? Is he really dead?
Yeah, I was thinking the
That's
same
why I was
thing.
thinking he was like, oh, I'm like, is this some sort of future moment where he's gonna go back in time or something?
The thing is,
Like,
no.
Yeah,
The
I
thing
almost
is,
thought the movie was over.
it wasn't even like done in a way that makes you feel okay. That was honorable. No, his leg is bent all fucked
Yeah.
up. His
I
head
know.
is cracked.
There's blood all over
he's
the.
in a pool of blood,
Yeah.
and it was rough.
Yeah, it wasn't honorable. It wasn't pleasant. It
No.
was really sudden. Like
Mhm.
I remember I was talking to my mom about this movie, and she was like, because I remember I watched it for the first time and I really liked it. I was like, have you seen this movie? And she was like, yeah, I think I watched it up until the
Ryan
main guy
Gosling.
died. Yeah, and then I stopped watching it. And I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense, but you should have watched the whole thing.
It's not just a
It
story
only gets
about
better.
one man. It's a story about generations.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying before we watched it, I was surprised that they were able to sell this to a studio, like a movie where you kill off the main character in the middle of it and just start a whole new story in the middle of it. Like, there's not a lot of, well, it's not a whole new story. It's all one story, but there's not a lot of studios that would go for that.
Well, here's the funny thing that you're right, you know, as far as like modern film goes. But when you think about it, a lot of American stories are based on that generation, that generation by generation by generation. If anything, this movie is kind of following suit with like westerns. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like How the West Was Won. It's not a movie about just a single fucking family or something like that. It's about generations of Americans that took the West or whatever, right? And that's true for a lot of like short stories and a lot of books. Like we were talking about William Faulkner for Burning. He wrote a lot about legacies and family and all that type of shit, and how like generations of family affect generations down the line. And I think this movie is a perfect example of that, but just not like a Western. And I feel like a movie like this makes for learning about an entire like family generation legacy, makes for a really compelling story to see what happens to the kids, you know.
Fuck
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause that stuff has real life implications. It's
Yeah.
not.
It's shit that can happen in our life too.
Yeah.
Where maybe I'm like this because my great grandfather was like this, you know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly. Got you thinking back to the past and your ancestors and stuff.
Right. Yeah. No. One thing that I remember, because I looked up the trailer for this movie before we watched it, even though I'd seen it before, but I'd never seen the trailer. And I looked it up, and one of the things it says in the trailer is it's like 1 single second can be your legacy, and it's like really like dramatic, and like I don't like marketing teams for good movies.
Because of Inception.
Yeah.
Blame Inception's marketing team. They ruined all trailers for all eternity.
So yeah, like that's like the whole concept of the movie is like literally 1 second was his entire legacy. It's like now like this one decision that he made.
What was Bradley Cooper's 1 second for his arc?
I think it was the decision when he was with Luke. That decision to shoot or not. Like he shot right when he came in.
Yeah, I didn't give him time to think or react.
They
didn't
made
do
the same
anything.
decision.
I think
Or, like,
Bradley Cooper has kind of like 2 legacies, because he has a public one and a private one, because like his whole character is like you guys said, he's kind of like a scumbag, you know.
Yeah, but I still don't think he's a bad guy. He's just a guy that made bad decisions and did stupid shit.
I agree.
But what I'll say is his public legacy is when he decided to shoot Luke, and when he made that decision. His private legacy is when he decided to lie about what actually happened. So because his whole fame and the reason that he gets to the level of district attorney and eventually or assistant district assistant
And
district
then
attorney,
district
and
attorney
then
at the
district
end.
attorney, is based on a lie, which is he shot first. You know, he was just like, oh yeah, no, that guy
And
definitely
that's
shot
Luke
first.
shot first.
Yeah.
That lie is that Luke shot
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, and Luke did not shoot
He
first.
watched
We
Star
know
Wars.
damn
Which-
straight that Bradley Cooper shot first.
You kind of, it's
Yeah,
actually
blazing.
kind of funny
Blazing.
the way that Luke goes out is he, like he gets, so Bradley Cooper comes in and you can kind of tell that Luke isn't really fazed by it. He doesn't think he's going to get shot. And then he gets hit in the chest and he gets surprised. And then as he's going out the window, he's kind of like, man, fuck you. And he shoots
Yeah,
him in the
exactly. I
leg.
noticed that
Like you
too.
see it on his face. He's like, fuck you.
Why the fuck are you shooting?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't prepared for
He was
that,
on the
right?
phone.
Yeah, like he's like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm getting in trouble. Please don't tell my son who I was.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Mhm.
And you
that's-
mentioned it too. I forgot about this, but like she was on the phone. Eva Mendez's character,
Yeah,
yeah.
Romina was on the phone, and she heard him get fucking
She
killed.
heard
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, I would assume, because it's not going to hang up, so I assume she hears the pop pop, maybe hears the body hit the floor, and then just hears the cops screaming, don't move, show me your hands, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, nah, he's dead. Like,
Yeah.
that's a lot of blood.
He's just kind of saying it as like a self thing, you know, for like, oh, I should, now that he's dead, I should probably tell him, hopefully, just in case he's not dead.
Reading
to
his
not move.
Miranda rights.
Yeah, as he's dead.
Like, as he was
You have
sitting
the
in
right to
a bowl
remain
of
silent.
blood. Yeah, don't move.
Fucking dumb.
Anyways, yeah, so Ryan Gosling's character is really interesting, and Bradley Cooper's character is also really interesting. And I think
They're just both flawed human beings.
yeah, but I think that so going back to Drive and the connection between this character and that character is like I feel like
I know you love Drive. God damn it.
so in Drive he spends the whole movie trying to do the right thing and trying to get out of the life so that he can live the life that he wants to live, whereas in this movie it seems like he is trying to do the right thing but then he gets hooked on the bad thing, you know what I mean? Because like one thing I noticed is
Grand Theft Auto style.
yeah, one thing I noticed is when he is talking to Robin, I think was the guy's name.
Yeah.
And he first brings up bank robbing. Robin says, "It's fine as long as you don't do it too many times," which to me, like, where else do you hear that phrase? Is when people are telling you not to do drugs, right?
Mhm.
So like to me, that immediately clicked in my mind is like, okay, so he's gonna get addicted to this.
Mhm.
Like he's gonna get addicted to that rush.
Dang, you were able
And-
to see that? That's
yeah.
sick.
So and then that's what it seemed like too is like
Yeah, he was even acting as if he was like going into like when he was throwing up and all that shit.
right.
Mhm.
It's almost like you're right. Like it is a drug. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then on top of that, when he cuts his bike in half, and the way that he reacts to that is like,
When Ben Mendelsohn's
So
kid Robin
with
cuts his
withdrawal.
bike in half.
yeah, and the way that Ryan Gosling reacts to that is like,
Like a dude that wants more drugs.
yeah, exactly. It's he definitely a little over the top, you know. So I just thought that was really
I
interesting.
don't think he stopped to consider that the guy cut his bike up to like protect him.
Right.
But also, it could have just been to where the guy cut his bike up so that he wouldn't do more, you know,
Right.
robberies, so that it wouldn't connect back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking covering his own tracks.
Yeah, but I like to believe that the guy he cares enough about Ryan Gosling's
Yeah.
It might have been
character.
just a little bit of pop.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
I like him.
He did care enough to like take care of his son and teach
Yeah,
him
to,
about
like-
him a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
But yeah, it was. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. But then also, cutting the bike up. Like, there's the line earlier in the movie when they're doing the pictures of the ice cream and everything, and she's like, "You want the bike in it?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"Bike's part of the family."
Yeah, and it gets cut up too. That does
Yeah,
actually,
yeah, so
that does
it's-
actually make sense as to why you would react. To that.
Yeah, it's something that he's really.
But that
it's
kind
really
of takes
important
away
to
from
him.
the whole drug aspect and how his reaction was over the top.
Yeah.
It's more it takes away from the drug because like he's saying
But I
his
think
family.
too, like, had he not had the addiction to it, he wouldn't have gone out on that bike without testing it out first, because he immediately has a problem starting it when
Yeah,
he
he's
goes
like,
in.
fuck,
Oh,
fuck
yeah.
you, fuck you.
Yeah, and then the tire pops and
Tell
like,
that, like he didn't even have his shades.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
He wasn't prepared for that.
It was,
That
it was
was
like he
wrong.
was relapsing, kind of.
Yeah.
And he was
Totally.
really just rushing into it, and like, yeah, it's interesting.
And then Bradley Cooper's role, that's when the whole film completely changes and it goes from
Yeah.
one act to the next, and it's like, whereas one was a crime story, the next is like a sultry noir, well not noir,
Right.
but like sultry and fucking dealing with corruption and fucking, you got all the Italian cops that are like,
Yeah.
hey Stevie, let's go over there and
Yeah.
give this bitch a shakedown. And all
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Stuff,
As soon as Ray Liotta comes in, you know it's not going to be good.
I was talking about it, yeah. He's a good fella through and through, man.
So yeah, let's start talking about Bradley Cooper's character and his relationship to Ryan Gosling's character. Something we all kind of noticed was there was like a lot of parallels between them. Like
specifically, we talk about the first scene with Ryan Gosling where he wanted to give the money back to his girlfriend, to
Right.
Eva, to Romani.
Romina.
Or actually, the first parallel they actually make it in the movie too is when they what's it called? The dude is asking him. I think Bradley was still in the hospital, and he was like, "You're thinking about it, huh? Like, what are you thinking about? Is it because he had
a kid too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He had a
You know,
1-year-old son just like you.
yeah,
So
That is the
you
first
think about
parallel.
that, like he took his father away or something like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like the first parallel, and then like when they were leaving, or not when they were leaving, it's in the second arc of the movie when Bradley is trying to like get the money that they stole.
It's just like the scene. Oh, from the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
From not first one. I'm thinking of it like it's three
It's
different,
two
movies,
different
but from like the first act where Ryan Gosling is.
And
trying
it's
to get
funny
it.
because it's the same money.
Yeah.
It's the same money.
yeah,
He's still trying to give it back to her, so it's
Yeah.
like he became Luke,
yeah.
but in a different way.
In a different way. Yeah.
That was the first time we mentioned like. I said deja vu at the time.
Yeah,
You're
you
like,
said
oh, it's
deja vu.
parallels the
Yeah.
time.
Because he was waiting
Yeah.
at the diner just like Luke did right before she drove away from
Yeah,
Luke.
their cars parked in the same spot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pretty similar camera angles too that
Right.
are used. Overall, yeah, it's really good. And Romina's reacting the same way to both of them.
I would say she's even reacting worse in the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. Well, I mean, like,
yeah,
she's like, yeah,
You killed my
Killed
husband.
my-
Yeah.
you took my only way out,
My
bastard.
boyfriend. That's crazy. And then their relationship specifically between the two, Luke and Avery. Avery is Bryan Cranston. Why the fuck did I think Bryan Cranston?
What the fuck? No one thought you were thinking of Bryan
Why did
Cranston.
I
Why'd
think
you say it out
Bryan
loud?
Anyway, what's his name? Oh my God,
Who?
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley
Fucking
Cooper.
Jesus,
Oh,
man.
okay, I wasn't sure which character you're talking
Alright,
about.
I was
between
gonna say
Luke and
Bradley.
Avery is Bradley Cooper's character because I don't think we've actually said his name yet.
Yeah,
have we?
I don't think so.
That's why I wanted to do that. They never met specifically. Like their interaction was straight up just
Really
chase,
short,
chase,
yeah.
die. That's it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But that's not what like decides their interaction. We start learning about. We start getting like a twisted perspective of what Bradley Cooper must be thinking of for Ryan Gosling's character, because like he sees like the picture of them, like the family, so he starts getting his own version of what this. He must have been a father just like me with the kid,
Right.
you know.
Right.
You know, he starts getting the kind of his own like
Because
idea,
he's feeling remorse. He
Of
knows
course.
that he lied.
and so he starts like kind of like building this guy. Hey, this guy was probably a better guy than I am. At least in my head, that's how I see it. You know?
Yeah.
And that's probably
I can see that,
contributes to him trying to give the fucking money back to the mom and
And-
feeling bad and telling all the fucking his buddies when they go to their house, go to Romina's house to like take the money. He's like, guys, we can't do this. This isn't fucking right.
Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting too the way that the movie, like I'm curious what they're trying to suggest with the idea that the guy who, even though he was robbing banks, he was doing right by his family, kind of, versus the guy who wasn't doing right by his family, but
Doing
he
right by
was,
the law or by
yeah,
society.
exactly, and how he gets out and gets ahead, and at the end of it, he's
Still kind of
fucking district attorney, you
Yeah.
know.
But he's still he doesn't have his wife anymore. He has a son,
Yeah.
He has a son. Well,
but only after it took the son of a criminal to bring the son of a his assistant district attorney together.
Yeah.
You know, to closer together.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned Markel at the end. You were like, "Man, this makes my heart feel warm" because his son is up
his
there on the
son is
stage
up
with
there.
him. Yeah,
He's like looking and smiling at his dad. Like,
Yeah.
man, you could see that like he wanted to be close to him the entire time.
Yeah.
And that's even the reason why he was like behaving the way that he was.
For attention.
Right.
Yeah, AJ. I mean, like Avery Cross's son, the
Yeah.
younger one. Like, he was out there buying OxyContin,
Mhm.
ecstasy, throwing parties in the
Yeah.
house while
His dad
Avery
was-
is gone. Like, he was definitely off the charts.
right.
Speaking of Cross, Cross is a badass last name. We were talking about how
Yeah.
it's kind of weird and convenient that Avery's Cross is like the hero figure, and his last name is Cross. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We even hear that like leitmotif where the fucking choir
choir
starts
was
going when he
playing,
comes
yeah.
home. And it's like the prodigal son returns to fucking the police department, and the choir is playing. And I think that's the first time we hear his last name, Cross. I don't remember.
I don't
It
remember.
The
was
point is,
around that.
it's just no coincidence that we're hearing choirs, very angelic, and his last name's fucking Cross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And then also the way that it ends for for Luke's son is he ends up being basically the same as his dad, just kind of
Yeah.
like a loner on the road with his motorcycle.
He was a loner stoner from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. But like, because we don't really get a whole lot of backstory for Luke's character in the beginning. He's just some guy that travels with this circus and rides motorcycles and ball.
With the heartthrobs.
Yeah, with the
With the
heartthrobs.
We could have gotten a few more scenes of him robbing banks, maybe.
Yeah, but I think his character is meant to be sort of mysterious. It's not like
Yeah, okay.
like his character is supposed to be someone that doesn't have anything, and now he suddenly does.
Yeah, like
you
we
know?
just see him through his actions. Like,
Yeah.
we see kind of who he is, and then like you see that he has a son now. Now we
Yeah.
know that about him,
And he's
now
committed to
like-
it, too.
He's committed
Yeah,
completely.
that's what made it so sad because he was so excited to be this dad,
Yeah.
and then
Right, he
once
was- yeah, go ahead.
Kofi,
Yeah.
it was Kofi, right? That's
Yeah,
his name.
Kofi.
Once he stepped in, he was just like he snapped. Like
Yeah, that was another thing too. Is I feel like again with Drive, it's these two separate worlds that are starting to come together, and that's one of the parts where they come together. Like you mentioned, I remember you kept saying like you got to keep those things separate, dude. Like you can't have your gun running, bank robbing,
Aggressive bandito type,
Yeah.
or
Oh,
moto
yeah,
bandit
yeah.
come
Yeah.
into the
When
world.
you're in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
And he
You
was
gotta
trying to
win
keep
the
it
woman
different.
back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was trying to keep it different. He was trying to win the woman back. But as the guy got closer, fucking the moto
Yeah.
bandit came out just a
Yeah.
little bit, and no reaction. You don't even see him. You don't even see him enter
Yeah,
frame.
'cause
He
he,
just
like-
and that's
Yeah.
it.
He didn't make a reaction. He didn't make any like verbal cue. He
Yeah.
just got up and smacked the dude with the
smash
wrench.
Yeah.
the shit out of him.
And it's like he wasn't like doing anything wrong to begin with, really. I mean, like I mean, seeing it from like Kofi's perspective, I would understand why he would not be okay with that. But at the end of the day, he was also just he had his crib. He had a crib.
He had a
for the-
good point. He
yeah.
said, "My baby will roll off this bed."
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He was a crib. Like,
Um,
yeah.
I mean, like he was definitely doing it as like a presentation thing to Romina to try and win her back.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and Kofi was obviously.
If he
aware
just
of that,
hadn't
yeah.
attacked Kofi, it would have
probably
earned a
would've
massive
worked,
brownie.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He would have definitely had some sex.
And that's
Yeah.
why I feel bad for
He would have won
you
some.
feel me for Luke because
Yeah.
he was just trying to turn his life around.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah.
didn't have anything that he wanted to live for. It seemed like.
Except for his son.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
except for his son when he found out.
Yeah.
And then like he had to figure it out on his own. Like
Mhm.
he popped up and then saw Romina's mother with his son.
Yeah.
And she told him, not Romina.
Yeah, she clearly still like had like feelings for him, and she was happy that he was kind of like taking. She was crying, and he was
Yeah.
covering her face
Yeah.
during the picture and all that.
Well, I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't take long before like they're in bed together, and it's not even in like a just super sexual way, but just like they're
Very
just,
intimate.
Yeah, they're
like-
just being intimate and happy together. You know.
Which, real quick, there was a shot that I thought was pretty cool. They got away with nudity. They had Ryan Gosling covering her nipple with his hand. Smart thinking.
Yeah, that was their intention.
Mhm.
Anyways.
He was used in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's probably the scene that got them together, Eva Mendes and Ryan Gosling. You know, 'cause
That's
I-
real intimacy,
yeah.
even though it's for a fake movie
Yeah.
or a fictional movie.
So, moving
Briefly,
on.
I want to mention the part when it's like, what's it called? Luke was in the church and he was watching his son get baptized.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
it was
like
that's
crying.
fucking crazy.
Yeah, he started crying because it's like he's seeing his. It's like almost the baptism symbolized that family, like with Kofi as the father
Yeah.
being solidified. Like you're not a part of this.
Yeah,
He's
you're not a
sitting
part
in
of
the
this.
back row.
Like
Yeah.
he wasn't even invited. He had to go there himself. Like
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's not long after that we get the scene where he's talking to Romina, and he says, he's like, has he had ice cream yet? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, I'm going to give him ice cream for the first time. So every time that
He has ice cream. He sees my face.
Yeah, exactly.
he
He's
never
like,
eats ice cream again for the whole.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
never see him eat
But he
ice
saw his
cream.
face.
Yeah.
no, he was having ice cream with Kofi.
Oh,
and that's
shit! And that's when he asked about the dad.
Dang,
God
bro.
damn.
Good catch. You
Yeah,
can't even catch it to the
fine.
guy that's seen the movie like 10 times.
Yeah, holy shit, that's crazy.
I didn't realize they were eating ice cream in that scene.
Yeah.
Man.
Dang, that's wild.
Cameron, secretly a member of the Roger Ebert website.
No, I just remember absurd things sometimes.
They were
Yeah,
eating
that's
ice cream
fine.
in that scene.
Yeah.
Actually, in Star Wars
'Cause
Episode
it
6.
ties the connection back. You feel me?
Yeah. Every time he's gonna eat ice cream, he's gonna see my face, and then he's like, "You know anything about my dad?" While they're eating ice cream.
The funny thing is while he's with his real dad while he's eating ice cream. you
Yeah,
know?
Kofi wasn't even a part of that. Like, it was just Romina and Luke, and
Mhm.
like, it came true.
Yeah.
You see, I see his dad's face.
He
Good
saw his
fucking
face. Yeah.
Cameron caught that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Good
amazing.
catch, Cameron. Good catch.
Louis secretly gonna kill you later.
No, that was awesome. That's a good. Yeah, that's a crazy connection. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Okay. So then also, I guess we haven't talked that much about the kids
final
yet.
act.
Yeah, and the final act is
That was more like a coming of age teenage thing, but not like coming of age. It was more just like
I didn't think
the end. It was kind of like the epilogue of that whole act through the children and through the.
Well, it
children's
kind of
eyes.
like restarts at that point because like they both kind of start where the characters Luke and Bradley Cooper, Avery, Luke and Avery, where they start is where these characters end, the kids, because I remember the kind of only piece of backstory that we get for Ryan Gosling's character is he's talking to Romina, trying to convince her to let him see the kid, and he's like he needs to be with his father.
Check to see if that's working.
Yeah, it's good. He's like, he needs to be with his father, and he's like, my dad was never around, and look how I turned out, or like, I didn't have a dad, and look how I turned out, something like that.
And then what does Jason turned into?
And then and then Jason starts off with his dad as the district attorney, whereas Avery started off.
Other way.
Or sorry,
Jason
no.
is the kid for Luke.
Jason starts off with he ends with no family because he just leaves, doesn't have anybody anymore, and you can tell that he says he's heading west, so. And he's in New York, so west is what, California? That's the other side of the country.
Speaking of, we hope you liked that skit at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Anyways, then so
Oh shit.
then AJ's character, his Avery's dad was a judge. Now Avery is the district attorney, and his son is probably going to go on to be a cop. Following his father's footsteps, or something in that realm.
Yeah, and that's social work.
So they kind of end where their dads started.
Because he's got to live up to his dad. Because Avery had to live up to his dad being a judge, so that's why he became a cop, and that's why he wanted to be the district attorney.
Yeah,
presumably.
And now AJ won't.
And that's why
AJ has nothing to live up to. Not AJ. Jason.
Jason has nothing to live up to. Well, I mean, he's got his amazing motorcycle skills to live up to.
Right.
Have you ever ridden one of these before?
Starts it up on the second try.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's kind of weird that remember that it's like that conversation that Avery has with his wife in bed, and she's like, "All right, so you had your action. You can leave. You can quit the force now because it's dangerous, right?"
Right.
And he's like, "You guys just don't get it, do you?
Yeah.
You know what is that they just don't get? That he has to do this because of his dad, you know, because of his father's legacy."
Yeah,
is that what he
I think
means?
it's a lot of pressure on him, probably.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's something, or maybe it might be a thing that he wants to do the right thing.
Maybe I feel like it goes for like the father angle, like I have to do something to be like my dad or like be better than him.
What's funny is that we never get to see Luke's dad. We don't know who Luke's dad is.
Yeah.
But Luke wants to be more of a dad than Avery wants to be a dad. And Avery grew up with a loving father. Clearly his dad cares for him quite a bit. But he neglects taking care of his own son, you know, and neglects being with him, you know?
Yeah.
It's weird. How can a guy who grew up with such a loving father end up neglecting his own son?
You can
take it for granted.
You can kind of see that there isn't a super great relationship between Avery and his dad, because like when they're in the pool, he's like, I came here for my knee or whatever. He's like, I didn't come here to get lectured.
Well, that's the point, though, is that his dad wants to take an effort in his son's life, and he just doesn't want to do it.
My theory there is that like it's a pretty common thing with these kinds of characters is like the father. His father probably was focused on his career when
they were
he was
younger.
a kid, and then now is trying to get back involved in his life now that he's a little bit older.
So it seems Avery can do the same thing with his own son.
Yeah.
Which will probably happen
makes
like
sense.
based on the way that it's going already.
I'm just going based off of like what I was shown, but you're right. That's actually something to think about because in your own mind you can create that type of stuff.
Because you can see that his dad cares about him and wants him to do well and wants him to be good. But then he's like, I didn't come here to get lectured. Like, fuck you. I don't need your advice. I've
come this far without it.
Yeah, exactly. I assume it's that mindset of like I don't know if you guys have ever seen Warrior, but there's a really good scene with Tom Hardy and his dad in that scene where he's like, I need you when I was a kid. I don't need you now. Everything's already happened. And it's like, oh fuck, yeah, that's true. That's it.
Real talk.
And so I assume that's where Avery's coming from in that scene. Probably is like, you know, like I'm where I am now, and that's probably why he was really reluctant to get into politics too, because his dad in that scene is trying to convince him to get into politics, and then he ends up doing it anyways. But it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Kind of like how where the
A
kids,
never-ending cycle.
yeah, the cycle starts
The
over because it's
generations don't
inevitable.
change.
Yeah.
But
That's almost scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's definitely very poetic, but for sure people can change. For sure.
Yeah,
of course.
But
Yeah.
they can dictate, like the future, and they can dictate your own
Mm-hmm.
your existence based on the past. But you shouldn't ever be like held back by it. It's obviously very like
Yeah.
poetic, and it's just for the sake of the story. But
Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
It's incredibly
It's
interesting.
just a movie.
So, what other parallels did you guys see between characters? Because, like, we've talked about the ones between Luke and Avery, but I also noticed the ones between Luke and Jason. Like, when Jason first goes to meet Robin, I think, right, is the guy who helped Luke with the robberies. When he goes to first meet Robin for the first time and he's riding his bike down the road, there's that wide shot from behind him with the road out in front and it's at his back and he's riding down the road.
yeah, it's just like his father's scene when he was going through
except
those.
riding a motorcycle.
My question is, throughout the entire film, where is the place beyond the pines? We never see it. Is it the place where they're driving through? Is it that road? Because that's
there
a fucking
weren't
bad place.
there weren't any noticeable pine trees that I can think of, really.
I mean, there was when Bradley Cooper was going to the forest out with Ray Liotta's character.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. The thing is, like, when they say place beyond the pines, there's a place beyond the pines where things important happen for every act, right? I don't know, I can't remember what it would be for the first act, but for the second act, for sure.
Wait, no. For the first act, is the bank robberies.
Yeah,
Him
those
and
take
Robin.
place in the
They
forest.
they met racing.
Oh, in the
trees.
pines.
Yeah.
through the trees. You're right.
that's
Thank you.
right.
I was looking for the first one, but that's
Yeah.
perfect that you find it.
Yeah.
So the second one, if that's the case for the first one, the second one would be for
When-
Bradley Cooper when his partner, when
Right.
his corrupt buddy threatens, that he drives him out into the pines and gets
Yeah.
ready to kill him, right?
Mhm.
And the third one is
Yes.
obviously when the son,
Jason
Jason brings Bradley
Avery
Cooper's character.
Senior out.
Yeah,
Not
back.
senior, but just Avery out.
That scene
out
was-
into the forest, out into the pines. So that is the place beyond the pines.
That is the place beyond the pines.
Stuff happens that
We
is
figured
not
it out,
spoken
everybody.
about.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's why
it.
you watch the GarageCast.
We
because
solved the
think
riddle.
of everything
Yeah.
that nobody else can
Unsubscribe
think
from
of.
us now, and you never need anything from us ever again. I'm just kidding.
I guess that is kind of what we do here. Is we just kind of like we pick up the pieces and figure it out and just solve it.
So you don't have to do the work.
Yeah.
We've done it.
Just
for you.
watch us be stupid.
Although
and we'll figure it out.
I came up with that based on a joke.
That's true.
Well, that's-
yeah.
I was thinking like that too, because I'm
Oh,
like,
the place beyond the pines.
Yeah, the place beyond the
Hey, but it's
pines.
funny because like
And there's
It's
a
the
place
thing,
beyond the
yeah.
pines that it's talking about.
well, no, because I was actually thinking about that, not as a joke. I'm like, there's two shots in the forest, but I can't remember the first act. I was gonna bring it up, but I couldn't remember.
When they're
That's-
racing through the
yeah,
forest.
but then when they were racing, and I was like, fuck, Sergio beat me to it.
yeah, they're always talking about sensitive information over there. First, they're talking about robberies in the pines. Of
It's
course,
definitely when something important happens.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where the place
And
was.
Because
where
that's where-
things change
Yeah,
for the
I was-
characters.
I think that's when in the last scene, right after he was about to be killed by Jason, that's when he became like he decided it seemed like he was gonna pursue his political career
Mhm.
and he was gonna be like run
Straight
for
up.
Yeah.
for the assistant DA, and then he was like, nah, you gotta go for the DA. His
Yeah.
father said or something
Mhm.
like that.
I also like this isn't regarding the place beyond the pines, but how Jason was gonna kill him based on the thought that he didn't know like
Who he was.
Yeah, he thought that he just killed his dad, didn't even think twice about it. But then he's like, "I'm sorry, Jason,"
Yeah,
and then Jason's like, "What? you
Yeah.
like you actually are aware?" And then he like takes his wallet and
Yeah,
has a
he had
picture,
a picture
in it.
of
and
him in his
everything.
wallet.
to remind himself every single day, this is the
Yeah,
family
like,
of the
this
man
is-
that I killed.
Yeah.
That's some real stuff because like most people would try to like
Hide it, cover it up.
I didn't like Bradley at first because I thought he was like I was focused on the lie so much.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
bruh, how could you lie
How
about
could you
that?
lie
But it
about
like
this?
it's smaller in the context of the story, although it is such a large piece. Like it was definitely
For his character, it was
yeah
large.
for his character. It like because that lie is what made you famous. That's why everybody thought you were a hero. Because if it wouldn't have happened in that order, then you would have been a criminal because you did shoot first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The real thing
Police
that makes
officer.
him a hero at the end is exposing the
The
corruption
corruption,
within
yeah.
his own
Mhm.
police
Because he
department.
became
Right.
a hero twice.
But it took him doing a shitty thing to do a good thing.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, and also each time he always has to get pushed to the limit. Like he has to get pushed to someone trying to kill him,
Mhm.
and then he decides, okay, this is enough. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of,
Why does he wait until he's about to get killed?
they're gonna make me district attorney.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's like, I'm not gonna shake your hand, pal.
And he keeps it out the entire time.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
It's clean.
You're gonna make a mistake if you don't.
Which that kind of reminds me too of.
Well, we're about to finish.
Yeah, we'll finish up. That kind of reminds me too of when Ryan Gosling and Kofi kind of like interact for the first time, and Kofi's like you can do this every day, and then Ryan Gosling's like, do what? Like trying to be the same like kind of douchey, like rude and like just mean, you
Put
know.
up that like tough exterior
Yeah.
that you had at the beginning.
And then it's just kind of awkward. It's not. It doesn't really like get it. It's like that's no like it's just awkward, you know.
Now you're the douchebag in the scene. So
Yeah,
good job.
exactly. And that's really like one of the only times that we see that happen with Ryan Gosling's character is when he's around his family and the kid and Kofi.
Well, it's
he
around
definitely breaks
Kofi.
down.
It's around Kofi.
Yeah.
He definitely does break down towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that was good talk.
All right, real quick. Let's. We hope you enjoyed our Place Beyond the Pines. Real quick, Cameron is gonna because we forgot to put a bunch of movies in our hat like usual. Yeah. So this time around, we're
Cameron's
gonna
use
use a number generator.
Yeah, random number generator between 1 and 180.
Wait, 180?
118.
118.
That's how many movies we
have. All right, randomly generated right now in 3, 2,
34.
We have The Big Lebowski.
Hey!
We're gonna watch The Big Lebowski with my boy Jeff Bridges.
My boy Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
All right, so that will be next week.
Yeah, next
Maybe. We'll figure
Where's
it
the
out.
money, shithead?
Where's the fucking money? Oh, it's down there. Let me take another look.
All right.
Take sip from mug.
But that's the GarageCast.
In the garage. Oh yeah.
Signing
our
off. Hopefully not for
invisible
another
sip from
2
the mug.
weeks.
Yeah. Thanks for, I hope you like our lights.
Yeah. Thanks for enjoying.
Tell
our
us what
lights.
color you want to see next time. See you guys later.
Right there in the comments.
Once you
Bye.
like it, comment.
Very nice, guys. You like it, Markel?
We're not professionals.
Not yet. Dude, does this look professional to you? It's more professional than it used to be, but it's not professional.